Thanks, Bruce. You're so nice. All right, we will go ahead and call the meeting to order. And we'll start with roll. Jenny?
Mr. Bush.
Here.
Mr. Greenlee.
Here.
Harris is not here as of now. Mr. Hill.
Here.
Mr. Kyers.
Here.
Ms. Longstreet.
Here.
Ms. McCaffrey.
Here.
Art. Mr. Rice.
Or Ms. Rice.
Ms. Rice. Oh my God.
Mr. Okay,
I'm on it today.
Here.
Mr. Sachs.
Here.
You never say Mr. or Ms. It was like it can.
Well, I was trying to get fancy today, so.
That's all right. We'll keep it friendly. All right, I guess our camera's just going to focus on the podium today, but that's all right.
okay.
Hopefully everyone speak into your microphone so folks can hear you on the recording. We will move right to, we don't have any additions or deletions to the agenda, so we will move right to the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. So you notice in the packet, we had a February meeting notes that were just slightly tweaked to meet some requirements for the grant reporting to make sure our public information meetings that we had are correctly represented on there. But no content was really changed on those. And then the March 18th regular meeting minutes. So we'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve both of those.
So moved.
Thanks, Lucas.
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. All right, any questions, comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, minutes are approved. We don't have any communications today, and that brings us to our first public comment. I don't see anyone in the audience here in person, but if you are online and wish to make a public comment anytime during the month in writing, feel free to go ahead and send it to the email address indicated on the description of the YouTube channel broadcast there. All right, and that brings us to our financial status report that we put together quarterly. And Brandy's here if anyone has questions or if there's anything to go over on that. Linda, is there anything you wanted to point out since you're chair of finance?
Nope, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Finance committee went over it again, so Brandy was ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
She has 2 months normally afterwards.
Questions from anyone? All right. I don't think we need a motion for that. That's just for informational purposes. So we'll move right on to the staff reports and start with the director's report. And Jason.
So I think most everybody's aware, have been talking about our millage renewal. We've had 2 work sessions since the last, with the Board of Commissioners, since the last Parks Commission meeting. I think both were very positively received, and there's a public hearing directly before the board meeting on April 30th. So if any of your friends, families, or loved ones, or anybody who might be a park supporter, encourage them to come out and share their comments at that time. That would be the time and the place to do that. So yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Jason?
I do.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Linda.
I've not been angry in the 6.5 years I've been on this commission, except for 2 times when we did not renew commissioners. But I'm baffled. I am incredibly baffled why the Board of Commissioners thinks it's okay to just ignore what this commission voted for, whether some people think they voted for it or not. The vast majority of the commission did vote in favor of the 0.52. And now, to accommodate, I'm not sure what, we are going to do a restore and renew, and then come back again in November to go for the whatever amount that somebody has decided that wasn't to us is okay. I'd like to know, Phil, and I'd like to know, Jason, how that works. Then why did they have us at all?
Well, I think so, and I think that's a great question, Linda. And I think sometimes it's beneficial to take a step back and look at everybody's roles in this whole process. And staff, I kind of see our role as to try to engage the public, hear what they're saying, refine that, try to, in conjunction with the Parks Commission, put together a plan, whether it's a renewal or an increase. And that's what we've been working on the past several years. But part of it also was understanding, I think one part that I appreciate here is we're also what some might call the most conservative county in the state of Michigan, and we're talking about a tax increase. And so I would say, Linda, just so you know it from me, and every board member that I've talked to, they appreciate and support parks. I think where it gets, and I've tried to be real upfront with them and understanding kind of the delicate situation that we've placed them in by the Parks Commission recommending an increase, when some of them very likely within the past couple of years campaigned on small taxes. So I think that what I'm just trying to say is there is part of that is just understanding the very real perception. So Parks Commission makes a recommendation to the board. I think that, the board's role is to ensure that there's a public need, and then to approve the millage language. But in conjunction with that, there's also a real perception. So I think that part of what we're managing is we have leaders in a situation where it's maybe a tough situation.
Well,
But-
what I don't quite grasp is that group of people have been very clear that it's up to the voter to decide. That was the litany that we heard for a good part of the time. The voter should be deciding, politicians should not. So the voters are not going to have the opportunity, because for whatever reason, they don't think that they should, that they know better, and their renew and restore is okay, and then we'll let a couple of months go by. I think it's a waste of time, and I'm really pretty irritated because it puts more work on you all. So you have to do this, and then you have to do, for whatever amount the staff has to work, assuming two things. It could fail, and that's up to the voters. So you have to put plans together if there is a failure, or you have to put plans together if it succeeds. That's, in my opinion, double the work and a waste of time, Mr. Commissioner.
You know what? I couldn't agree more. And I voted with the Parks Board, and I agree with that. But sometimes political situations, it's a board, and you don't always get your way on a board. And the majority of the board is the majority of the board, and you live with that and move forward. So I think what Jason did and how he compromised, I think he was really smart at it. I know it's going to cost us money as far as the elections, but I think in the long run, we'll be happy with the results. So that's where I'm at with it. So.
And I think that's again, I think it's trying to figure out how to see the big picture goal, and not allow some of those the politics or the bureaucracy, or trying to navigate some of that, and seeing that the big picture goal is talking about additional funding to support the parks in the future, and how do we get there. And I think I'm pretty confident that we're moving in the right direction. So I hear what you're saying.
Well,
but, yeah.
I would tell you that if I had been asked to vote 2 months ago on a 0.33, and then a subsequent, another option, I would have said no. So, it really didn't matter either way. We could have just.
No, it very much mattered, because the Parks Commission's recommendation still stands. And so the recommendation coming from the Parks Commission is, will be one option that the board will consider. And then what I've tried to do in conjunction with the county administrator is hearing some of the feedback and suggesting some alternatives that might, appease some of the concerns, but still get us to where we want to go. And that's talking about that increased revenue. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good. I hear what you're saying too. So I think we've all probably had that thought for at least some period of time, but appreciate the comments and the feedback from Jason and Phil on that too. Any other questions, comments? about that or anything else for Jason? All right, thanks, Jason.
Nope.
I think we'll move on to the operations report, and that's Jason Berger.
All right, thanks a lot. Well, our March was a lot about getting seasonals hired, getting spring prep going, a lot of water testing, opening restrooms, fixing plumbing, that kind of stuff. And then, the extra added bonus was dealing with flooding. So, just to keep us on our toes. For the first time that I can remember, Eastmanville Bayou, the water is completely over the entrance road. I mean, it's on many occasions it's been halfway over the entrance road, and you could still scoot through into the parking lot. But yeah, we're actually completely over the entrance road now. So, or at least we were yesterday. So it's been all sorts of fun, and we're gonna have lots and lots of cleanup once all that water goes away. So looking forward to that in the next month. We've actually started mowing already also. So Ethan's parks on the east side are growing like crazy, and he doesn't have all his seasonals on yet. But Kate luckily can help him with mowing because her grass is all underwater. So
That's
it
handy.
works out.
There's always a silver lining.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Jason?
Just
All
kind
right.
of curious, Jason, is there going to be any damage from the flooding that you think from docks or structural?
Probably not anything structural. We'll have erosion that we'll have to fix, but at Grand Ravines for sure, we'll have some erosion around the
Okay.
kayak launch area. And then at Eastmanville Bayou, we'll have erosion around the boat launch area there. We'll have to add gravel and fix that there. But that'll be the majority of it. I don't see us having any structural issues from any of this.
Okay.
Even at Riverside Park, the flooding that we've had in the past, when it went, we had issues of it scouring out around the boat ramp.
Yeah.
And when it went down a couple years ago, we repaired all that, added a bunch of new material. And so that's holding up and is armored pretty well. So I don't see that happening again anytime soon.
Okay.
Great.
That's good. Thanks for the update. Martin?
I had just an informational question. Your note about fencing in the remaining oil well at Bend area.
Mhm.
What is like the long-term future of that?
So there's the oil wells out there are owned and operated by a couple different operators. The McCall wells are the ones that were the company went bankrupt, and the Eagle is helping to abandon, cap, and fill those over the next several years. They don't do that many every year, but it is in the process, and it is happening. We also have wells out there that are owned by the Goodell, is the name of the owners. Those are still producing. So those are fenced off and keep the public away from them, but they seem to be no problems at all. There's no safety hazards or issues with those. So we'll just continue on, and hopefully over the next few years, like 75% of the wells, is it, that'll disappear?
more.
Yeah, it's like at least 75% of them will disappear over the next few years.
I think we have a map of all of them. And it's actually, you can find it on Eagle's website if you can navigate to the right page. But I think there are 11 on our property there. And probably, right, only a couple will remain. So Fisher McCall declared bankruptcy, and then through Eagle, there's a orphaned well fund that then funds essentially the closure of those. So we had 2 that leaked several years ago, and Eagle then was the lead on the remediation and cleanup on that. And that's right around the time then that this operator walked away from his operation. So, and there's funding to do it, but they are also a very small staff. So they manage all the orphaned well projects across the whole state. And I think there's only a couple of them on staff in Eagle, but they bid out. How many did they bid out? It wasn't all of them, but just this past 6 months, they bid out projects to cap them and close.
So just to clarify, we fenced off a bunch of these wells several years ago. This picture now is because that was on the property we just recently purchased. So that's why it came up again.
Yeah, and we had, that fencing, those are actually dog kennels, by the way.
Right.
But it works really well. That fencing we had was ones that we took down from some of the other wells that are not operational. So we had some extra, so we moved it over to that one that was operational, because that's obviously the most concern. And soon we'll have lots of extra fencing as all those wells disappear, but.
Thank you.
Yeah, since we're talking about the Bend area too, we have talked about it at planning, but if we do this, everyone would be invited, doing like a site visit for folks who haven't actually been out there and taken a look around, and maybe Kurt could lead something like that for us. Maybe in the next month, 6 weeks, something like that.
I was
but
just
we'll
thinking the same
coordinate.
thing. So
Yeah,
we can do Jenny, maybe we can do a doodle poll and come up with, would later in the day work for everybody's, like try to find a late in the day. And if you want to come and see it, some maybe saw it during the tour, but it'll be, now that we have the feasibility study and the site, right, they're still working on getting the grading finished, but it's
Some of it is starting to look green now. So I was just out there yesterday.
Does it make sense to invite the Georgetown Township Board to that session as well? I think they would probably be interested.
yeah, I mean, we could start with the parks folk, and I'm sure there'll be future opportunities for outreach for different groups or the county commissioners or
Yeah, we're
any
meeting,
different groups.
we're meeting with the township. I can't remember his title.
Justin,
Is he a supervisor or manager?
manager.
In middle of May, we could bring it up with him then to
So
see what he
we
would
do
like.
have plan, and I think one of the questions we'll want to navigate, we have one piece of property left in that's scheduled for acquisition. That doesn't include what the road commission's property, but so we do have funding allocated for a master plan update. So we can discuss when it would make sense. And I think that's really where we want to engage, looking at the whole park, what the opportunities are there. They've been a partner all along the way, back for over 20 years on that site. So yeah.
Great. All right, we will keep going with the planning and development report. Kurt?
All right, I don't need to say a whole lot. You can tell when the weather is getting better because I get more pictures in my report. So yes, things are starting to move around. Jason mentioned the flooding. The Bass River Phase 1 segment is supposed to start here in a little bit, but we were out there last week, and yeah, there's some significant areas that are underwater, so we'll have to see how that goes. We knew they were going to be underwater, but yeah, that's how it goes. Also, we did have a good meeting with our neighbor, Mr. Marquedos, who's been here before, so we are in good shape with him. And we this came up in the planning committee too. We told him we didn't want to deal with any other issues until he's okay with working through his issues with the township. So I think we're in good shape with him. The other thing, I don't know if I mentioned it last time, we were going to do on the Eastmanville Bayou segment, we had started doing clearing of the trail route, wanting to do it before everything was leafed out and wildflowers and all that kind of stuff. And there just happened to be a new eagle's nest nearby that.
And you have a window of before April, something before the brown bat.
Yeah, well, yeah. And
Clearing moratorium.
right. So we were trying to meet that, but we didn't. So all of that's going to have to wait until August when the Eagles are done with their stuff. Hopefully, I don't know if our natural resource folks have gone out there and looked to see if there's chicks in there or anything. But anyway, so we got a little delayed there. But that was just the clearing. The actual construction of the trail is going out for bids tomorrow. So that would mean that we would likely start construction in July. And hopefully get it pretty much done by the end of the year. So otherwise, any questions on anything else?
Questions for Kurt? All right, we'll keep going with community engagement. And Jess?
Much like everyone else, it is that season. There we go. Yeah, it's that season where you'll see a lot of blue shirts out in the field running around. So if you come by the nature center in the morning, any weekday, there will surely be about 100 kids. So if you're doing anything you need quiet time for, maybe a little in the afternoon, give it a minute. But otherwise, lots of really fun, upcoming cool stuff. Everybody's been really busy. A few really exciting partnerships. I'm hoping to have an MOU for you all to review with the Tri-Cities YMCA very soon. Yeah, with that, I'll just maybe answer any questions that you have.
Great, thanks. Questions for Jess?
Jessica, it sounds like you're going to be collaborating with, I know the West Coast Chamber reached out.
So we have 2 crews that are working with Grand Haven. And actually, when I said that, yes, we could do that, I didn't look at our staffing. So yes, I will be leading a crew in Holland that day because we have everybody maxed out. So, but I'm glad that we're working with them as well. Cool, nice. All right, we're going to find some stuff for them to do. I might be
Yeah, nice.
recruiting some more folks. Well, thank you for that connection.
That's great. Any other questions for Jess? All right. And we will go, well, Neely is out sick today, but we have a natural resources management report in the packet. So we'll probably let that stand as is unless there's anything anyone else wanted to highlight from staff. We did have the working group meeting this month as well. We do meet every other month. I think it's going really well. I think everyone's getting used to each other and providing some really great feedback on that. And Neely and Tyler did a great job orchestrating that meeting earlier this month as well. So, all right, seeing no questions or comments, we'll go on to the development report. And Katie.
And she's
Oh, yeah,
actually,
Katie's not
well,
here.
she's in her office. She's
Okay.
working, so I'm sure she can hear us. But let me know if there are any questions and, or we can tell her to come visit. But I'm happy to try to answer anything and she is in the building. So she just is taking advantage of working at her desk.
Any questions on that? Otherwise, we'll let it stand as presented. All right, we will keep going with the visitor and business services report, and that is Nick.
Yeah, good afternoon. Always busy time in VBS. I'll pretty much leave my report stand except for one item I wanted to point out. Really excited to share this story, and it kind of shows why it's really important for us to have people in the parks whenever we can. In February, there was a lady that was having a medical emergency kind of on the backside of the campground where you couldn't see from the parking lot. Hunter was working that day. It was kind of a gross day out, and he noticed a car had been there for a while, which was strange. And instead of just, throwing the trash in the dumpster and heading home like he had planned, he said, well, I think I'm going to go walk down the trail just one more time just to make sure everything's okay. He found the lady in a medical distress and was able to notify emergency services, coordinate them accessing the person. And it's pretty clear if he didn't take that walk down that trail, I don't think that person would be alive today. And so just want to share that and how important what our staff does every day is just being in the right place at the right time and taking that extra effort to check on things in our parks. So with that, the sheriff's office voted to recognize Hunter at a future county commission meeting. So just wanted to share that. It's kind of cool and a good way to highlight the importance of what our staff does every day in the field. So, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have on the rest of the report.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Any questions or Jason, do you have
So the
anything?
sheriff's office has for both their staff and then for non-law enforcement officer, non-commissioned officers, it's a life-saving award. So I think that's what we were trying to coordinate June or.
Yeah, it looks like July is going to work best for his family to attend that meeting. So,
and we can.
Yeah, if you could let us know, that would be great.
And it also isn't, certainly that doesn't preclude necessarily the Parks Commission from recognizing his service either.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, we could do a resolution or something.
Yeah.
Should.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Talk
that's
about
great.
that at executive committee, maybe.
Sure. Yeah. Good idea. Yeah, thanks for sharing that story. I saw that in the packet and it was
Mhm.
nice,
Awesome.
really awesome. Yeah, seems like people get in a rut sometimes and just do your job, go home.
Yeah,
So it's
and-
people who care and
Yeah.
go above and beyond and just really, that's amazing. Good. Any other questions for Nick? All right, thanks, Nick. We will go with the visitation report that's included in the packet. And I know Aaron puts those together, but if anyone has any questions, maybe Jason or others might be able to field those. No? All right, we'll let that stand as presented. Okay, going on to committee reports, and we'll start with the executive committee. We met on Monday, April 13th, which is right when everyone was coming back from, a lot of folks were coming back from spring break. So really focused on the development of the agenda today. We have quite a few motions. Some of them we have on blue sheets of paper that were handed out today because of recent bid deadlines. So we'll be going over those in a little bit more detail, but really working on pulling the agenda together at that meeting. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. All right, we will go on to the planning committee meeting and we'll go with Linda. She was named co-chair since Lucas wasn't able to make it
Yeah,
this month.
yeah.
So
Um,
not co-chair, vice chair, my bad.
Whatever I was that day. I think the report pretty much stands as Kurt writes it because we don't. So if there are questions, Kurt will be sure to answer them.
I think a lot of these are included in our motions
are.
anyway, so, or have been touched on. Okay. All right, any questions? All right, going on to finance and policy. That is you, Linda, as well.
It is. So it was, we are going to have some motions based on that as well today because data wasn't available for us to make a recommendation. So I'm going to let that pretty much stand. I will say that Nick is being really nice about giving me an IEC update every month on how we're doing with reservations and the like. So he's now getting the Jason Berger questions for when I asked about parking a lot. Now he gets, you're off the hook, Nick's back on.
For a little
So
bit.
I appreciate that and it's really helpful.
Good. Any questions on finance? All right, man, we are flying through today. All right, Jane, you are up with community engagement.
Yeah, thanks again to Jess and Riley for getting the notes pulled together so quickly. We meet from 3 to 5 on the Thursday before the packet comes out. So good job. The notes are pretty comprehensive. The minutes are pretty comprehensive. I will point out the Grand River Greenway interpretive plan. Jess, there's a link to, I know there's a link to that in our agenda. Is that on Teams if people want to take a look at that? Or can they get through it?
I'll send a link out just so it's.
Okay. The interpretive plan is really remarkable. It's very comprehensive and staff's, estimating it's about 75% done, but it really looks like it's getting there. So there's some very exciting ideas about how to kind of knit that whole interpretive plan together along the entire Grand River Greenway. So take a look at that. It's really pretty cool. And it's coming in under budget. So that's also the good news. So good job with that. And Linda, to your point earlier about the Board of Commissioners action on the millage, we did talk about the various scenarios and however it happens, the communications team is well positioned to provide educational materials in whatever timeline we're looking at. So that's impressive as well. We have our new van. We kind of had some fun brainstorming about how we could wrap it with something cool, maybe get a sponsor to do seasonal wraps or whatever, but it's going to be a very nice vehicle. Maybe if we do our little Bend area trip, we can take the van. Okay. There's a tease.
Everyone has to wait.
I'm the only one that's been driving it around, so, you know.
Yeah, like, all right, well, stop hogging it. We want to ride. Yeah, so if there are any questions, feel free to ask, but things are cooking with community engagement, so.
I'm putting that in my notes about the van.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any questions for Jane or the community engagement folks?
Holds 14 people, it says, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, what's
Legally, probably.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Favorite thing about the van is that there's like 8 cup holders for the 2 people in the front seat and 2 for everybody else in the back.
Oh. So it's like a party bus.
Can you get those little tables, that you can like install or not?
Great. All right. Thanks, Jane. We will move on to the Ottawa County Parks Foundation update, and that's Martin. Is there any updates?
Not a lot. I think most of the discussions and stuff have been things that we've all, keeping up to date on the status of the millage progression and staying aligned with the millage committee. The 2 things that I would highlight for the commission here would be keeping on your radar the annual fundraiser coming up in about 2 months. So that's June 12th, I believe, breakfast and lunch. So start to get that on your calendar. And then this Saturday is Art for the Parks at Hemlock Crossing. That's from 5 to 8 p.m. Streets will be there, cash bar. So come if you can.
And for those of you who've hosted tables before, Phil, Kelly, has Angela connected with you all about doing that?
Yep, I have.
Pretty sure Barb's been connected with.
Yeah, I think Angela's been.
I think you just got signed up, Phil, whether you want to do it.
Well, I said, go ahead. I don't remember, but yeah.
Hosting a table or inviting folks to come, we'll connect. That's what I was trying to see. So,
Did I invite people yet?
well, or did you want
Question.
to, did you
I
want
did
to
not
host a
yet,
table?
so don't feel bad.
Me and Kelly on the same page. We plan on it, but we
And
did not.
throw
That's
me
right.
into the same
Oh,
page
that's
too.
right.
It's been all 3 of us, so.
I did get the little postcard, I think, when I just reached out to
Okay.
her about something else she did, but maybe everybody needs to get those.
Good Joe.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, did I ask questions for Martin? Anybody have any foundation questions?
What was the
go ahead.
event this Saturday?
Art for the Parks,
Art for the Parks, okay. Thank
At the Nature Center.
5 to 8?
5 to 8 p.m.
Who's the band?
And there's a really good food truck.
And I remember your streets.
Your
Band.
Thursday present yet for the year. It's always a good place to pick up a nice Mother's Day present.
Razor
So-
Days?
Always a weekend, I'm gone, but
Oh, there is
I'll
gonna
be
music.
planting
Yeah.
trees.
Oh, that's
All right. Okay, we will go on. We do not have any old business, so we'll switch to new business. And we have some new business items to go through as well as closed session, but maybe in the future, that's one thing the executive committee did talk about is maybe getting Ethan here for an introduction. If he has time, maybe one of these months, just so we can meet him, say hello, welcome, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I had actually thought about trying to do it this month, but he's out of town doing the Certified Playground Safety Inspector course right now.
Oh,
so-
nice. Okay. Yeah, no worries.
Soon.
Important, so.
What's that?
Mowing
And
grass.
mowing grass. All right, we will start with the Upper Macatawa Natural Area Restroom Building Construction. And looks like we got some bids. Is that right, Kurt? We have here, everybody have it on paper?
Yeah, that's right. Our schedule didn't allow this to get in the packet because we just opened bids earlier this week. But we did get three bids. This is for the modern restroom at Upper Macatawa. It is part of actually the whole Hawthorne Pond, Middle Macatawa project that's going to be dedicated in June. It was all part of funding because we did get some ARPA funds for that, if you remember that way back when. So it's part of that. Our estimate was about $770,000. So we're well under budget. under estimate. We also are, at least at this point, under budget because we were a little over budget overall for that overall project. So anyway, I hadn't worked with this company before, Midwest Construction, but they're out of Zealand. So they like being in their backyard. We've done some research on them, and they appear to be very reputable, have done bigger projects than we are calling for here. There are a couple of things on their bid yet we want to clarify, and that's why I put in the motion pending final due diligence. I don't think it's going to change anything. They will be the low bidder. It might change what their actual contract amount is when we get it all figured out. So this is great if we can get this going, be done by fall.
Just a quick update. I do know Midwest very well. Mr. Gearlings, who owns Midwest, we deal with him probably weekly in Ottawa, somewhere, some development, but a very good, solid company right out of Zealand. So just for confirmation, I would back him up. So I'll
Good.
make
I
the
should
motion.
ask you for
Great to know.
references more often. I
I
didn't
see a lot
know.
of these names in here that we do
Yeah, right?
on a weekly basis, but I would make the motion to approve Midwest Construction if per the motion.
Good. Thanks, Joe.
I'll second that.
All right, thanks, Phil. All right, any further questions? Comments? All right, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. Great. Thanks for that, Kurt and Joe.
No, thanks for
All
coming.
right. Item 12B is the Bass River Phase 2 engineering contract, and we have a suggested motion. Planning Committee went over this to accept the proposal from Eng, if anyone would care to make
So
that.
moved.
All right, thanks, Jane.
Second.
Thanks, Bruce. All right, Kurt, are you taking this one as well?
Yeah, this is mine. So just to clarify, right, phase 1 of the Bass River Trail is what's just starting construction. So this is the next piece to the east of the first one. So the first one is going from Riverside Park through a big chunk of Bass River to their launch ramp. This goes from their launch ramp out the east end of the park and to our what we call the Walcott property. It's a property we purchased for the trail, but it goes to that. So it connects to that. It includes a big piece of boardwalk and a bridge over the Bass River. So yeah, we got numerous RFPs. ENG is the engineer who is doing the phase 1 project. They were very low that time as well, and they still are not scared. So I don't see why we can't take them for the next phase, because they know what they're in for now and what we require. So,
And just to piggyback on that, if you don't mind, ENG is one of my top 5 engineering firms we use. So they're very familiar with, I was going to say phase 1. So you did a very good job.
Yeah.
So they're, reputable. And as long as they're not scared.
yeah, I just
Oh.
worry when they're so low, but they were low before and they were able to complete it. So
Okay.
they know what they're doing, I guess. Not a guess, they do.
They do.
They did it.
I'll make that motion as well.
Okay, actually, we already had, we actually have a
I'm sorry,
motion.
you
but
already
can
got
vote
it. Never
for
mind.
them. if you'd
Yeah,
like.
sorry.
No, I appreciate the comments though, Joe. Any further questions or comments about ENG? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. And moving on to 12C, the South Region Mowing Contract, which is another handout we have here in blue in front of you. And it looks like we have a suggested motion. If anyone would care to make that, to accept the bid from Nearshore Property Solutions, or if you'd rather hear a report from Jason Berger first, we can do that way as well, since this is.
Make the motion.
All right, thanks, Linda.
Support that one.
All right, thank you, Martin. All right, Jason, you're up.
All right. Well, as I said at finance, we had to rush this one through a little bit because we had a contractor that we thought was going to renew this year, and they at the last minute decided not to. I guess he's pivoting his business to something else. But we did get everything done and got 6 bidders, which is pretty good. I had let finance know that I expected that, our bidder last year was quite low, and I expected that we were gonna be at least or around double. And every one of these bids, with the exception of one, is double what we were paying. So the one did come in, pretty good at, 14,880. I did speak with him to make sure that he fully understood the scope to, since he was so much lower than the others. He lives with about 3 miles from, and he works, and his shop is about 3 miles from Upper Mac. So he specifically bid it low to get a contract that was really close to his shop. And he had good references with Hope College and Zealand and, one other.
Getty, I think.
Small company, only about 5 employees, but plenty to do this contract. So we are suggesting that. Oh, in addition, I was afraid that since we did budget for the lower amount that we were expecting to renew, I was afraid we were going to end up with having to do a budget adjustment. But what we have left in the budget currently, as long as, October is billed in 28 or in 27, I think we might be able to do it without a budget adjustment with this current bid.
Yeah,
So-
that's great. Looks
And
like
it also right, we did investigate, the county facilities department has a standing contract for mowing contract services, and did investigate that before going out to bid.
Yep, I spoke with both facilities about that and purchasing, and they both agreed with the size of our contract that we would probably be better off to bid that separately and get lower prices. And that is definitely what we got. I mean, we would have been in the $30,000 range if we would have piggybacked on the county's contract, and we got 14,880 instead.
Yeah, wow.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Great.
Joe, do you know these people?
These I do not. I know 3 of the companies, but not this one.
I had not heard of them prior to them bidding either, which is why obviously we did our due diligence with our reference checks.
Great. Any other questions, comments? All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. And we move on to 12D, which is the Bend Area Explorer Center feasibility study.
Holy moly.
Pardon me?
Just to receive it, right?
Yes, just to receive, correct. So we have a suggested motion there, just to receive the Bend Area feasibility study as submitted. So if anyone would care to make that motion, and then we'll go over it a little bit.
So move.
Thanks, Jane.
Support.
Thanks, Joe. All right, so planning got to go through this quite in depth, but for everyone else, Kurt, do you want to give us some highlights?
Sure.
I
I wasn't quite prepared for that.
Yeah, I'm
But-
sorry,
I can-
okay. okay.
Well, no, and I think that it's, and Kurt did a really good job of summarizing it. I think, again, we've been working on the Bend area project for 20-plus years in conjunction with the township. So 20-some years ago, the township and parks came together, worked with the property owners there, and all of those property owners who were running mining operations agreed to use the Bauer Ford plan, reclamation plan, with the intent that those properties then would be provided, the county would be provided an opportunity to acquire those for a future park. So somewhere in the neighborhood of about 700 acres. So every time the township works on, they receive a mining application or an extension or adjustment to one of those mining applications, for those operators, they typically reach out to us and review that with us. In some cases, we sit down with the owners and kind of review that, because the intent is when they're done mining that we would be able to acquire those and incorporate that as part of the Bend area. So there was an original one done, and then Kurt did a master plan update some time ago, and we have a larger copy of that. So, we see that we're kind of getting pretty close. We're over 600 acres now. One more major acquisition that we're working with the owners on. But we also know we have an opportunity for some philanthropic support. and one of our large donors has shown an interest in helping with this site. So what we did was we hired Feartus, who had already looked at one feasibility, kind of a little further to the north and the east. But this site has really always been where we saw that there would be a multi-purpose facility there. So something in the neighborhood of what our nature center would be. So we had them come in and do really pretty thorough investigation of the site, looking at utilities, layout, existing conditions. So for example, the driveway and the utilities alone are about $3.5 million. So, we see this as an opportunity very similar to what we did with Ottawa Sands to leverage maybe an interested donor who is interested in supporting something, that draws a little more attention than asphalt and utilities, but then that allows us to leverage that philanthropic support to go after other grants and donations. So we had several reviews with Virdis and our whole senior leadership team, from Nick looking at VBS operations and Jessica looking at community engagement. We did a site visit to one of the facilities that the ODC built with Gentex. They have some similar design aspects as we think about this as a site to house classroom space for outdoor education, but then all-day summer camp, and thinking about the licensing components that go along with that. And then, of course, as any design does, almost always it came in over budget. So Kurt and I and the team talked about it and then worked with Virdis and proposed 3 different options that were pretty logical. So internally, staff are working on what possibly might be that request to our donor coming up in June. So we had initial conversation with Kurt and Aaron and I and Katie this week, and then we'll be pulling in the rest of the leadership team, both to look at what are the options with we're at this time where we aren't sure if we're doing a renewal and restoration or an increase, and then looking at operating expenses on site. There's a future beach on site, so Millennium Park has their beach, so that brings in quite a bit of revenue. So just exploring all those with the intent that we have a conversation with the Parks Commission in May, leading up to June when we have a meeting with the donor. So that's a whole lot of information. Hopefully that kind of makes sense though. So we're working right now to see, can we build a logical campaign and feasible ask? If you all remember, we floated the idea of about $8 million to this donor about a year ago, and knew we still had some additional work and investigation, and that's what this feasibility tries to give us an estimate. I would say it's a very conservative estimate. Yeah. So anything else, Kurt?
No, I would just say, if you're interested, I know it's come up before, are we putting the cart before the horse a little bit on this? But I was going back through the master plans, and just to tell you, we did one in 2000. We did an update in 2010. I did an update in 2017, I think it is. And we're hoping to do a final one soon here, because we think all the variables are getting less and less all the time. We're more and more sure of what we have. So this building really is, if you go back to the previous master plans, we had a nature center, educational facility. We had large group. We needed spaces for large groups of people, again, educational and multi-purpose. The thing that's maybe changed is, and this relates to the interpretive plan that's going on for the Greenway, is that it becomes a center for exploring the Greenway. So that maybe is added from any previous master plans we've had, but it really seems that those are all synergistic uses. If we had a facility that did that, that would really be the way to go. So.
And then provides a hub. We know we want to, with the master plan update, we want to pull in the township and look at all the site and see what makes sense. I think that, we've had some some conversations with fellow city and some of the mountain bike folks in the community that there's some pretty unique opportunities there, especially when you think about all the work going on in Grand Rapids. And we're going to have this trail is going to be connected pretty soon. And it's, this park could easily be our most heavily visited park, not long after that trail connection is made. And so trying to make sure that this facility can accommodate what we see now, but what also, in the whole region is they're talking about Bentonville, Arkansas, and having this, national recognized region for biking, and how could that fit in, and trying to be thoughtful in the design, that it's flexible enough to accommodate what we're kind of talking about now, but long term. So Lucas and I had a quick call today. He had some questions, I think, on it. This really was to try to give us a good numbers as we build a potential grant request. I think this is the bricks and mortar concept, but then there's a whole lot of additional work on the kind of the fit and finish and the different exhibits and the way we would activate it as well. So lots of opportunities.
So I know, the donor that had expressed an interest in the past would potentially be a big part of this, but are there, have you looked at, like, would any of this qualify for other grants or funding? So this would be appropriate for a wide mix of funding options?
Yes. So we're trying to build, what that would look like in the time frame with a couple grants I think we've identified that would make sense for it, with also likely another component of fundraising. I think considering that this donor might be the lead gift and then a campaign. We're also talking about if there's an increase, looking at, we have 3 major facilities throughout the county that we would be looking at in the next 10 years. Maybe there's a bigger vision of looking at, a community engagement campaign that provides support to all of those, as well as kind of that educational Parks for All idea that we've been talking about. And we have several different partners that might be interested in participating in that also.
So I was gonna say, this is basically just the very beginning ideas of what possibly could, talking to the donor is probably one of the biggest hurdles before it even comes back to us, because if we don't have a donor, the likelihood we can come up with the money is.
So I'm trying to think of this geography in my head. The Bend area, John Ball or Grand Rapids and the zoo are looking at properties on the river, near the river for an aquarium.
Literally, as the crow flies,
I was
it's
going to say, it's not far, is it?
few miles, if that, as the crow flies, but it's on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
So you would have to go into Kent County, and there's a little spur that goes north, but it's very close. It's very close.
Yeah, that presents, some opportunity for some couple really cool facilities close to each other and potential partnerships as well. But I know that aquarium is down the road and they haven't made a decision, but I did know they were looking at that site, so it could be kind of cool.
I was told just recently that John Ball Zoo has a otter exhibit that is pretty much a premier thing and is drawing a lot of attention, a lot of visits. You'll probably be hearing more about that too, but that's another new thing for John Ball Zoo to be more visited than maybe in years past.
Otters are adorable.
They are.
Bring a crowd.
Exactly.
Maybe they'll get out and swim up the river a little bit. Any other
Yeah,
questions?
we want real ones in the wild. is
Right?
what
Yeah,
we want.
exactly. We
Right.
have some of each at each site. All right, final questions, comments before we put it to
No.
a vote?
A lot of info, impressive
Yeah, it's good to have.
amount of work.
questions. Mhm. All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries.
So was there a first and a second?
There was Jane and Joe.
Mhm.
Jane had the first and
Joe.
Joe had the support. All right, so we will go to the Hager Park sidewalk, and we have a suggested motion to authorize the Parks Director to finalize an easement agreement with Georgetown Township.
I'll make that.
All right, thanks, Bruce.
Support.
Thanks, Martin. All right, who do we have here? Kurt, do you
It's
have?
probably
a
me.
little-
Yeah.
Yes, it is you. Had to get
All
to
right,
the
so
right spot.
I think everybody's aware that Georgetown Township approached us about adding sidewalk along the western edge and the northern edge of Hager Park, and we worked with their engineer to work an alignment that minimized disturbance to the park, especially the trees in the hardwood area. And also, just is more than just a straight sidewalk. We've got some meanders in it, so it's more park-like. And so we came up with a plan that we really liked. And of course, it's good for our park users, and the township has the interest. They're trying to make some linkages to some of these areas that are developing in the township. So I think there was some talk maybe last time or whatever that they were seeking more funds from us to help with it. But as it turns out, they are willing to fund it pretty much completely, right? The last word. So all they really need is an easement from us, because some of these meanders to get around trees or just to make the path a better route actually go into park property, not very far, 20 feet, I think at the most. So yeah, I think everybody thinks this is great to get it done. So that's what they need. They have bid it out already. So I think it's ready to be constructed here later this year if the easement is in place.
So, and just to elaborate on that a little bit, Aaron and I went and met with them in August, I think it was, and talk about the Bend area expansion and just confirming some of that, because we were right before the closure of that. And again, they hold the mining permit to that. So we talked about that. They asked about this project and asked if it was something that we would be interested in participating in. And we said, sure, we would consider it. And I think that he reached out recently, and I was wondering about the easement and getting that done. Well, the bid estimates were up in the $450,000 range. So he asked if we could cover about half of that. And I was just really honest that was way higher than what we could do. We did say we could, if they weren't in a hurry, maybe that's something we could incorporate into future. If we did a major renovation project, incorporate some of that trail connectivity. But they had the funding now, and he wanted to move on it and understood that. So that's what they're doing. They've been an avid partner with us and committed quite a bit of funding towards the Item Explorers Trail and some of those trail connections, and helped with additional trail linkage on Fillmore. So we really do see them as a partner. They're doing great things. We just have been talking about it. They understand the water challenges we have in the county, and switched to a odd, even, I think, alternating day for irrigation. So, and this trail connectivity is perfect, right? And so we're talking about, getting this connection then up to, the Item Explorers Trail, and how do we do that? So, we look forward to working with them on the Bend area and other places moving forward. So.
Yeah, great. Any final questions, comments? All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. And that brings us to our final item, which is the Polk Street easement, which planning has gone over from consumers for a light pole. And so we have a suggested motion there, if anyone would care to make that.
So moved.
All right, thanks, Lucas.
A second.
All right, thanks, Bruce. All right. Kurt, do you want to give everyone a little rundown on this?
Sure, we've talked about this a couple times, but the gist of it is the Park Township wants to add a street light at the end of Polk Street. This is right near our park entrance there for Pine
Port
Bend.
Sheldon.
Oh, so what did I say?
Sheldon.
I thought probably said Park, Port Sheldon, it's a P. Got that part right. So yeah, Port Sheldon Township wanted to add actually they're adding a couple of light poles on that section of Polk Street because they've been having some activity they don't like, including evidently drag racing and things like that. So anyway, they're a great partner with us too, so we want to try to help them. I originally thought, oh, there might be a better way to do this than they were proposing, but as it turns out, this really is about the least impactful way to do it. So it's just very minor. It's 15 feet around the pole. The pole is right on our property line. So on our property, I don't think there's any major trees that would need to be removed. It's just some brush. It does affect some trees that are in the road right of way, but those aren't ours.
But this is the road to Pine Bend, though, not Port Sheldon Natural Area.
Right, to Pine
Oh,
Bend.
okay. I thought you said Port.
It's Port
Okay.
Sheldon Township.
Oh, I'm
Sheldon
sorry. I
Township.
misread
So
that. Okay,
if you're
gotcha.
familiar, right, there's
Yep.
what's the road that goes south and then it
You're
goes
right.
east to our park
Yeah.
is what is Polk Street. So
Super. Any questions for Kurt or planning on that? All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. And with that, it brings us to our second public comment opportunity, but I see no one in the audience. So we will keep going. Those folks online can always submit comments at any time during the month to the email address on the YouTube video description. All right, that takes us to the commissioner's prerogative, and we will go around the horn and start over with Field.
Just want to point out to everybody, today is the 56th anniversary of Earth Day, which was founded by two people, Senator Gaylord Nelson from Wisconsin, and was a Democrat, and Republican Congressman Pete McCloskey from California. I was very close to Pete McCloskey, and I was very pleased to work with him on that project back then, and was in touch with him. He died a year ago, approximately, and a fascinating human being. Was a lawyer in the Stanford University area, Palo Alto area, and he had a Republican primary against Shirley Temple. And everybody thought Shirley Temple was going to win. Reagan was behind her, et cetera, et cetera. But Pete pulled together the environmental community very aggressively, and a lot of the Stanford University people, and managed to win a special election primary in 1967. He was also one of the strong leaders in the Republican Party against the Vietnam War, which is one of the reasons that I was close to him also. But anyway, it's an interesting day. It's the 56th anniversary of it. And I just want to remind everybody of how important it is to us.
Great, thanks. Joe?
All right, well, thanks for that update, Phil. Appreciate it. I just want to say thanks to all the Parks and Rec staff and all the work that they do. So just a good reminder that we have a great organization. So I just want to make sure we reach out to them and thanks. And special thanks for Jason working on the millage stuff and the millage committee. And there's a lot of work that's gone into this. So just want to say big kudos to Jason. He's behind the scenes doing a lot of negotiating and talking just to make sure Ottawa County moves forward. So
Good, thanks,
Oh, I
Joe.
got- yep.
Phil?
Yeah, well said by Joe, so I couldn't agree more. So thanks for all the work we do. I mean, millage committee that we've had, I'd never seen that before like we have here, and that's pretty amazing. So thank you very much for what you do. I know.
Great, thanks, Phil. Martin?
I had a brief story to tell. I was visiting a supplier while I was at work today in Hudsonville, and carved out some time to go for a bike ride because it was so beautiful. Took the chance to visit a county park I'd never been to before. I've been wanting to visit for a long time. So Spring Grove, rode over there. and rolled up to see mom and a couple of toddlers just marveling at this cloud of worms that were in the spring, and just marveling at how cold and clear the water was. And it was serene and it was beautiful. And with that, happy Earth Day.
Yeah, good deal. Thanks. Linda?
No, I think I said what I wanted to say earlier.
Okay. Thanks, Linda. Jane?
A couple things just to add on to Field's history lesson. I believe it was Rachel Carson's Silent Spring that kicked off the gentleman thinking about Earth Day. So here's to the lady scientists out there who get things going. So yeah, that's a good reminder. Also, I wanted to say staff did such a great job with the Connected County Park event. So many people there, so much good information. I didn't realize there'd be so many booths with our partners, but that was great to see. And I think it's just going to be a really cool program. So thanks to everybody who worked so hard on that. And Tyler did a great job with his presentation. And it was really fun. So that's all.
Great. Lucas?
A few things. One is I have a friend who cares for someone who has some pretty major disabilities, and they were just sharing with me how appreciative they were of the loop trail out at Ottawa Sands and the accessibility of that, and that there's just how unique that is, and that was one of the only places where they could go and really feel like they were immersed in a park and away from things. I mean, I know there's other places we have them, but they were just really sending along their thanks for that concrete path.
Boy, that sounds like a great story for somebody to come share April 30th at 9 a.m. We're talking about, right? Those are the things we want to try to continue to do in the future.
So yeah, it was great to hear that feedback. And the other two other things, the North Bank Trail, there's the Trestle Trail, which is the 1 mile section from Nunica out to the Trestles. We're planning a ribbon cutting on May 26th at 4 p.m. If you're interested, that's also on our Facebook page, or I should say will be on our Facebook page very soon. And let's see. Oh, I also noticed I got an email, I think it was from the Michigan Wetlands Association, that there's some proposed language about reducing wetland restrictions or wetland regulations. So that's out there in case you're interested.
Could you forward that?
Sure.
Myself and Neely, maybe?
Yep. And then the other one is, I wasn't sure, I know there's a lot of events happening this summer, and I wasn't sure if we got an invite on all of those.
I'm not sure if we've actually narrowed down exactly what we're going to do. And we talked about that to some extent. So, I think we will, so for example, some of these, the trail project, Eastmanville or Bass River or the Upper Mac restroom, typically we don't do groundbreakings, but what we might do is do a groundbreaking, which really is more of a photo op with a press release to go out and, really just to call attention to that, less of a talking, event. I think the dedication at Hawthorne Ponds in conjunction with the township, that's June, and I think we have a pretty good date. So we'll get that one sent out to you. But then now that we're talking, we aren't quite sure where the millages are going to land. We're rethinking some of those. So we might. Yeah, but we'll make sure once we get the dates confirmed, we'll get those sent out to everybody.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Great. That's good. All right, Bruce?
We really appreciate this feasibility study on the Bend Area Explorers Center. I live on the west side of the county, and I don't get out to Hager Park or Georgetown area other than to visit friends that live in Georgetown. And seeing the drawings, and obviously there's big price tags on some of those options, at least right at this point. But the idea of that being a center on the almost on the county line. The east side of Ottawa County is such a cool opportunity. And obviously, John Stoltz and other people, and you've been working on this for a long time, and Kurt as well, that 20 years is a long time to see things to finally get to a point where maybe we make some decisions on actually more than just, changing the beach frontage. But that, anyway, that feasibility study is pretty impressive. And so it should get some people's wheels turning, I would hope. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Bruce. Paul?
I'm looking forward to a road trip in the van.
Nice.
I did have
Yeah.
something, Kelly. I know
What's
I'm
that?
not a commissioner, but I did have.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
something.
I've got
Sorry.
a couple things, but you go
I-
first.
So we included the work session. I think hopefully all of you had seen that, but we had included the work session material and just a quick, call out to everybody who helped with that. I think the entire senior leadership team, but Jessica and Riley, Aaron and Kurt and Katie and everybody, help put all that together. So putting those tools together, I'm the one who gets to sit up in front of the board and kind of fumble my way through that. But they really help put together the materials that help tell that story. So great job to them. So it really is a team effort. So.
Nice. Yeah, thanks, everybody. That's good to note. I just had a couple things. Well, Jane stole mine about Connected County Park. I don't know if we got a head count at that event, but I gave away like 250 envelopes of seats. So there had to be at least that many or close to that people.
Our door counter was at 284, so we guesstimated maybe
Yeah.
like 200 for the event, but that's
Yeah.
that's a good.
Yeah. So we tried to give one
Say
to
284
everybody. So-
sounds-
Well, 284, whatever.
300.
But yeah, Hemlock was packed, so it was very cool. And at 6 o'clock tonight, I am giving a talk with Tyler about native landscaping at Grand Ravines. If anybody's bored after this meeting and wants to go, or maybe we'll get out early and take a walk and then go sit inside and learn about native.
And it's a really good presentation with Tyler, because some of us have heard it. 'Cause
Oh,
it's-
yeah, it is. It's the same one. A couple of you guys have been to. So yeah, awesome. And then I just wanted to give a shout out. A lot of us know the Land Conservancy of West Michigan. They've been a really great partner over the years and helped immensely with some of our land acquisition. But last Saturday, they had one of their first kickoff event that I went on. It's their 50-year celebration. It was a 7-mile hike through the dunes from Hoffmaster all the way down to Kitchell, Lindquist, Hartford, that area, so the North Pier. And it was hard. And I was not the oldest person there, and I was feeling inadequate, but it was super fun. They were kind of guided hikes, which is great. But I just wanted to give them a shout out. Park staff actually helped at Ottawa Sands give some information presentations as part of that hike, which was great. It was a great collab with the DNR Land Conservancy. So that was the first event, but they are having a biking event. If you're into biking, a bike tour and a kayak paddle tour as a celebration later on in the summer. So if you go to their website, you can check that out and sign up if you'd like. But really fun. It was fun. It's a fun celebration for land preservation. So just wanted to give them and park staff who helped out with that a shout out. All right, with that, we will entertain a motion to go into closed session. If anyone would like to make that.
So move.
Sport.
All right, thanks, Jane and Joe. Yes, I know we all want to go outside. So Ginny, if you want to take roll for that.